Welcome to the Utah Street Banter Podcast.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode here on the Utah Street Banter Podcast. This is Cody, and we have Elijah over there, our other host.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, man. So pitchers and catchers, they just reported just a few days ago, and we definitely got some rough news from that. When Michael Elias was interviewed, he let us know about, gave us some information about some injuries that have come up throughout the winter and this early spring. One of the big ones, man, is Kyle Bradish.
Yeah,
the man had a UCL sprain, and that's the UCL is the injury that everybody fears the season-ending Tommy John surgery with. Yeah, very nerve-wracking about that. Definitely don't want to speculate, and we're just going to have to hope and pray that it heals.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting some injections in his elbow to try to, try to see if it works. And sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't. It's definitely not 100% on either side. But I will say one thing I do hope is that if they do find that it's not healing, is to try to have the surgery as fast as possible, because he will miss an entire season. So I hope they don't let this linger too far out, because if we let it linger too far out, then he's likely to miss, all of this year and most of next year. But if we can get this done as soon as possible, hopefully he only misses one full season. He's back, as close to the opening day roster, if not, April, May of next season. But definitely that was super hard to hear, especially as excited as we were for this Orioles pitching rotation. The other injury we had was John Means, and that Michael Elias was saying that he's about a month behind, and that he will open the season on the IL. So there's two of our pitchers that we were expecting to have, a good 2024 seasons. Two of them already not planning on being on the opening day roster. Pretty tough to hear that. Really makes you nervous. The other injuries, we had two more. Gunnar Henderson, oblique soreness. Apparently he had something just like this last year. It's not viewed as a serious concern. He's not very concerned about it. It's just, I think it wouldn't have been such a big deal if you weren't hit with the two injuries prior. It seemed like just everything was caving in, and then you get Gunnar of all people. And then the last one is Samuel Basayo. He's the prospect catcher. He has a stress fracture in the right elbow. So he's going to be hitting and catching bullpens throughout the spring, but it's going to be a little while before he can throw a ball. They were talking about, 2 to 3 months into the season. But, the give and take, definitely, take your time with him. He's not expected to be in the majors this year. So just definitely make sure, I'm sure they're just making sure that he's, taken care of and healthy before he actually starts throwing a ball. But, at least he can still hit and he can still catch bullpens. But just talking about Kyle Bradish and John Means, really makes you stress a little bit, especially after we got Corbin Burns, which thank God we got Corbin Burns now. Now that looks like a shoe. Can you imagine if we didn't get Corbin Burns and we're sitting here losing, Kyle Bradish and John Means, but especially Kyle Bradish, fourth in Cy Young last year, and now you don't know if he's going to pitch at all this year. The one thing that I just am hopeful for is that maybe they're ahead of it, because they said this happened in early January. So they've had about, almost 2 months to kind of, they've had a month to kind of figure, it out and see what type of healing it is. So I'm guessing in the next few weeks we'll get another update. But still, you still can't really expect him to even be, say it does heal up. He's probably, end of April, early June at the earliest, probably June at the earliest, to be honest with you, if it does heal up. But I'm not a doctor, so don't wanna speculate too much. And so hopefully maybe this might push Elias to maybe try to figure something out and maybe another addition somewhere. Um, but obviously, if you listen to any type of Orioles news, you'll just hear, that's all the talk right now. It's totally out of our control, obviously, but we'll see. But other than that, I mean, we've had a couple small signings. Diego Castillo, we claimed him off 8 waivers from the Phillies. Didn't really play much last year, and then and then we got Peyton Burdick from the Marlins in exchange for cash considerations. Not really, like I said, this is just depth pieces. But other than that, one piece of good news, I guess, is we got Ryan O'Hearn signed an agreement to avoid arbitration. So he got $3.5 million in guarantee, which was huge because my man deserved all of that $3.5 million with what he was able to do for the Orioles last season. All right, guys. So we do have a fun podcast today. Really want to get to that with Elijah and his expertise on his favorite Orioles rosters of all time. So let's get to that. Have fun and try to not stress too much because obviously our stress doesn't really achieve anything. We'll let Michael Elias stress, and he can show us how much of a genius he is by, finding out any additions that the Orioles may need before the season begins. So this is a pretty fun episode here. So so I've been pretty excited about this. We're basically just going over what we think is our favorite ultimate Orioles like lineup / roster, right? So I mean, we kind of made a lineup, and we'll go over our 1 to 9 batting order at the end once we kind of go over everybody. But I'm pretty excited about this. The biggest thing I want to make sure people understand is this is a little bit about like the historic aspect, but it's more, to me at least, about my favorite like players. So you could definitely argue any number of spots. Well, there's a few spots I don't think you can argue, but but don't get mad at me if I don't say your favorite player. It's nothing against that player. It's probably because I didn't see them play, right? So there's a few guys I'm going to talk about from my side that like just didn't make the cut on my favorite team or my ultimate team. But mainly that's because I didn't see them play.
Yeah. And for me, it's kind of hard to do it based solely off of people I've seen saying that the majority of the years I've been conscious of baseball, we were starting Stevie Wilkerson.
Right. Yeah, man. So we're going to start with starting pitchers, right? And I guess who is your all-time top starting pitcher?
So I went ahead and I kind of, like, you got the obvious one that I think you have to have on this list is Jim Palmer. Like, right. Orioles icon there, Hall of Fame pitcher. And then I also have Mike Mussina.
Yeah.
Just another great pitcher.
Yeah, I have the same too. And, those are probably my top 2 pitchers, Oriole pitchers probably of all time. And, so I'm pretty excited about that. Maybe if we do this podcast next year, we'll have another name to add on, right?
Yeah, that's I kind of have written down here like underrated option that wouldn't, like, obviously I'm not gonna take it now, but maybe in the future you could either do Grayson Rodriguez or Corbin Burns. Maybe if we get extension signed.
Well, yeah, wouldn't that be amazing? Yeah, that'd be pretty awesome. But I'd be honest, I was trying to think of starting pitchers, and then I was like, I have to be missing somebody. So I looked up, starting Orioles pitchers, and I'm like, yep, just those 2. So
I mean, you got Wei and Chen that you could throw in there.
Yeah, you used to be a huge Wei and Chen fan.
Got a signature on the wall.
I remember when at an Orioles game they did the auctions there, and your dad actually won the Wei-Yin Chen Orioles signed picture at that auction at that game. Yeah, I mean, I bet he paid what 10, 15 grand for that picture.
At least probably more.
Right.
Whatever Blake Snell's getting in a contract, that's how much he paid.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. All right, the next one we got is we just do relief pitchers. This is not a closer. This is just relief pitcher. And I'm also going to go, for me, is I also thought of a specific year, where I want that guy on that year. Does that make sense? So that's why I have my number one relief pitcher is Andrew Miller. And I mean, when we traded him and got him from the Boston Red Sox, for Eduardo Rodriguez. I think that's who we got him for. And so that was a huge trade for us. Rodriguez was our number one pitching prospect that we gave up for a relief pitch rental. Okay. And he did exactly what he needed to do. I mean, he did amazing. And, I couldn't ask anything else from him. Now, if I want to talk about Oriole, my favorite Oriole relief pitcher, like Oriole has to be Darren O'Day for me.
Yeah. No, I have yet again the same too. It's just, I mean, Andrew Miller, that 2014 season was probably the best reliever in baseball, aside from someone we'll probably get to in a few seconds. But and then Darren O'Day, I mean, very distinguishable delivery, and just, I mean, he was shut down for a good, I think, probably 5 years in the bullpen for the Orioles.
Oh, absolutely. Moving on here, we're going to go to our closers. Who do you have for your closers?
So for my closers, I think the obvious Zach Britton.
Absolutely.
I mean, best closer in baseball for a couple of years, led the league in saves. I mean, just absolute dominance, and that's what you want from the closer position. And then I also have Greg Olson, who's not somebody I got to see throw a lot, but I just know from his stats and looking back, he was pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, you got two of the best ones there. And I went and, by a year on this one too. So my first one obviously was Zach Britton. And I actually just listened to a podcast with him on it, and he considers himself an Oriole, which is pretty cool.
That's
somebody
great.
that played for the
Don't
Yankees.
want him to consider the Yankee,
Yeah. I mean, pretty awesome. My other guy I would choose is Felix Bautista. And you can't really go wrong with him. I mean, it's the past year and a half he had. So Zach or Felix, I'll take either one for my Ultimate Orioles baseball team.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on, we're going to stick to around the diamond here. My catcher, okay, is one of my favorite TV analysts of all time on the good old Orioles broadcast. He's probably one of he's like the Mr. Oriole, right? I know Cal is like the Oriole, but I'm looking for somebody to get the rally cry going and, spell, the Orioles out. And that's Rick Dempsey. Huge Rick Dempsey fan. It's so weird getting a baseball card of him and, he's on a different team. I hate that. Because I just see him as an Oriole. It hurts my heart not to see Dempsey's sign on the warehouse right now either, because they made it a sports book. But yeah, so that's my guy. Is that your guy? There's another option there.
It is not my guy.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're gonna agree with I had Dempsey as my second. I don't know if you're gonna agree with mine. So for my catcher, I have Nick Hundley.
Oh.
No, I'm kidding. I don't have Nick Hundley. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, I have Adley Rutschman.
Oh, okay.
That's who I put as mine because, Rick Dempsey, I really like him. And another guy I kind of was Chris Hoyles. I don't know if that's who you were thinking as another guy.
No, that's not who I thought. But that Chris Hoyles is really good power hitter.
Yeah.
For the O's, he was another catcher as my childhood.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. Hoyles was on the Orioles, so it was really easy to remember his name when you're playing wiffle ball in the backyard.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind Adley. Not at all.
No, I'm going Adley just because I'm looking how he is now. And even if we don't extend him, which we don't really want to talk about now, even if he just plays out through ARB, I think just by that, he has a chance to take over Dempsey. like undisputedly.
Yeah.
If he just he's already doing so good. I hope that he stays in an Oriole uniform forever. But and if he does, especially, I think he has a chance to be a statue if he stays in an Orioles uniform forever.
Hey, I agree. And it's funny because, when I think about like my pick, Rick Dempsey, I think it's Rick Dempsey is more on my team for what he didn't do, like not for playing. Yeah, I mean, it's just he's Mr. Oriole to me, and he could just sit on the bottom of my lineup and strike out and just hype up the crowd every time. I mean, he didn't win the World Series MVP in 1983, so obviously, obviously he was good. And he holds, obviously he holds the record for most games called as an Oriole. But like you said, Adley might pass that, right? I think we got to talk about one guy, though, in the catcher position that we just got to show a little respect for. And that's a 4-time All-Star, 2-time Gold Glove, Matt Wieters. Matt Wieters, if people don't remember, Matt Wieters was Adley Rutschman before Adley Rutschman was who he is, right? So, it really made it so we realized how amazing it is to have a good catcher on our team. So that was what a stud. He was so big, dude. I remember I sat like near the on deck circle one time, and Matt Wieters comes up, and he's just a giant. I mean, imagine being an umpire trying to see over him. Looking at first base, I want to hear, who do you pick for your all-time Orioles first base?
So, for me, for first baseman, I think I chose probably the most common one that you would say. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, great hitter, Eddie Murray.
Yeah.
And that's why I thought I was close between him and Boog Powell, just because, I mean, Boog's a real Baltimore guy, big name, and you got Boog's Barbecue at the stadium. But I think I went with Eddie Murray. He's just had slightly better numbers and just a better producer.
Right. I did not go with Eddie or Boog there at first base. They might come back up throughout my lineup, but we'll get there when it comes. I chose one of my favorite players, and my man got hits upon hits upon hits, and that is Rafael Palmeiro. All right, he was one of my favorite players growing up. My lineup does not factor in any steroid questions, so you can take that and just throw that in the trash. But anyway, so he is my ultimate first baseman. So I would take him any day. Loved him. Loved big power lefty. It was pretty cool to see his son play for the Shorebird, Delmarva Shorebirds here for a little while. That was pretty awesome too. Moving on, we're gonna go to second base. Boy, second base, there's really not a ton.
I came up with 3 names.
3 names, yes. But
total, you even pick from.
Right. So I'm gonna go with my favorite, one of my favorite Orioles of all time, and that's Brian Roberts. Absolutely love Brian Roberts. He was I probably catch flack for saying this, but he took over the image that Cal had to have for a long time, and that's be a really good player on a really bad team. And he did it amazingly. He gave the fans a reason to come to the ballpark. Big number one, little number one over there at second base. And my man stole bases like it was nobody's business. So he's my top. I do have a second guy. I don't have this very many. And that's one of my favorites as a kid. And that's Roberto Alomar. I was a huge Alomar fan. So what do you got a second?
So I also went with Brian Roberts. I thought, like you said, really good player on years and years of bad teams, but it was close for me because I almost wanted to go with Jonathan Scope here.
Oh yeah, I like
almost
that.
It.
I like that. Yeah.
Because I don't know why. Obviously, that's like my prime getting into baseball years. Yeah. But that 2014 to 2016, 17 Jonathan Scope, he's great. Obviously, it's not worked out for him after he left the Orioles. But while he was here, he was really, really good.
Right.
I really liked him.
Oh, Jonathan Scope was awesome, man. When I worked I used to work for the Shorebirds organization, and he was so kind. I mean, very nice, down to earth. But you could see why he was like, you could see why he wasn't in our minors very long.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. He was there for at the beginning for a little while because he was so young. Because he got, drafted right out of high school. But he was so smooth. I mean, because a lot of people don't realize that we had he's a relief pitcher now, but Michael Givens came up as the Orioles' second baseman. That's what he was supposed to be, and him and Jonathan Scope were supposed to battle that out. Well, Jonathan Scope could hit. Michael Givens had trouble hitting, but luckily Michael could throw hard. But anyway, but that's a really good one. Jonathan Scope, what a good Oriole during a good time period for the O's. Yeah. But yeah, and then moving on to shortstop. I just don't think there's many. God, I really couldn't find one good shortstop. I'm just kidding.
No, I think Richie Martin.
Richie Martin.
Jimmy Paredes.
Well, that's a guy that I think you got me on. We do a fun thing where you send me a picture of a guy's of a guy on the Orioles, and you tell me who is this, and I think you got me on that one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Jimmy Paredes.
Yeah, that's one that's it's nothing against him, but I like to forget that time period of that Orioles baseball. You know what I mean? But that, like I said, nothing against him. It's really that it's the 100 losses that I want to forget. But okay, shortstop, obviously, Cal.
Yeah, there's no
Jr.
discussion.
Yes,
no discussion.
Yes. Now, I will say, if there's somebody listening to this that is a little older than us, there's another guy that they're gonna say, and I just pulled his baseball card, and it's legit. It's probably I was pretty hyped when I got it, and that's Mark Belanger. My man. It's one of those things where Cal Ripken, if Cal Ripken ever comes through the Orioles system, we would be talking about Mark Belanger at shortstop for forever.
Yeah.
So
I have him down too. Is he's a second? You want to say close second, but it's really not all that close when you're looking at Cal Ripken, who, I mean, you could throw him into the discussion of like a top 15 baseball players of all time, not even Orioles.
I agree.
And the other name that, even though of Mark Belanger's greatness and how good he was behind, other than Cal Ripken, I just love J.J. Hardy so much.
J. Hardy. Yes.
Hardy.
Man, I miss that.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great swing.
Man, J.J. Hardy came out. Did he do the first pitch when we were there at the playoff game last year?
No, he used it. No. Adam Jones was ours.
Oh, yeah. Adam Jones was. Yeah, you're right. Well, I was at one where he was the first pitch. And I was so disappointed with our PA announcer because she says, and we'd like to, J.J. Hardy is. I'm like, oh, come on. You have to do it. You know what I mean? And she didn't. I was like, gosh. But anyway, that was, gotta love J.J. Hardy. You know what I mean? Nobody has looked like they were in more pain running around the bases than my man.
Yeah.
But he was a great ball player. Great. I mean, man,
yeah.
What an awesome.
I mean, he was also a part of one of the biggest plays in Orioles history.
Yeah. What's that?
He was the last. He was the last guy to score on the Delman Young double.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Picture of him sliding in probably was out, but instant replay wasn't a thing back then.
Nah, he's safe. I'm probably going to save. That's all that matters, right? All right, man. Let's move on to third base. I'm going to let you hit me with that one. What you got?
So third base is another one that there is such a great guy that's in second place, sadly, because I mean, you look at their careers and it just, at least at this point, doesn't match up. You have to go with Brooks Robinson.
Yep.
The vacuum. I mean, he made best defensive third baseman in baseball history. I don't think you can top him at this moment. And I mean, look, I have Manny Machado second, and he's great. I just really don't think you could put him ahead of Brooks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I wish that I got to see him live. You know what I mean? Like playing in real life. And man, you look at like his plays, and he just makes it look so easy, so easy. But man, and I mean, it's what's crazy about it is a lot of times I try to, you know, a lot of times you hear about how he was defense first, and he was, right? But, when I think he went MVP and 1 year, and I mean, my man had like 28 home runs or something like that, and it's pretty incredible that, I mean, he could hit too. And there was a cool interview I watched with Raleigh Fingers, the A's relief pitcher, and he said if the Orioles ever needed a hit, for some reason Brooks Robinson walked up to the plate every time, and for some reason he got the hit every time, right? So it was one of those things. If I don't know, how you watch the Orioles play a team, and it just seems like the best hitter always comes up at the worst time for us. And that's how they kind of talk about him. So it's you don't always need power. My second guy also was Manny Machado. I think some Orioles fans, especially probably some Orioles fans that listen to us, might still be a little have their feelings hurt about that whole situation.
But I mean, that's not Machado's fault.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's we didn't even offer him a contract, so
exactly.
So, but he was the plays he could make in foul ground on the left side of third base is just amazing. I mean, and right from the beginning too. I mean, that was pretty incredible. We're gonna go to left field.
Okay, so I'll start here, and I have a lot to say about left field.
Oh, gosh.
So I'll just give you my option, and then I'll talk about that a little bit later, because it's not even about who I pick. It's just something I noted when looking into this, but my pick's Brady Anderson.
Okay.
And I don't think you see too many people that can hit as many home runs as him, but also steal as much bases. I mean, I guess you have Ronald Acuna now, but I mean, for his time, he was really impressive.
Yeah. Brady Anderson was amazing. I have Brady Anderson, but I have him in center field, right?
Okay.
And growing up, I mean, he was always a mainstay on your team. I remember I would turn on, back then it was Comcast Sportsnet, and you could always count on Brady and Cal, and Brady was going to, hit a bomb. If he didn't hit a bomb, he's going to hit a single and steal second. Really, that was a pretty awesome guy to have out there. And my left fielder though, so obviously, our lineups are made. So I had to be creative on where I put certain people. So you don't think this guy's a left fielder, but I think he's athletic enough to play left field.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you might have this guy at a different position. Okay. But my left fielder is Nick Markakis. Okay. And that's who I have in left. And I have him because I don't trust my other. I don't want Brady in left for me personally. Can he probably play? Absolutely. It's just as a Orioles fan that wants to see his favorite kid players, I just always picture Brady in center. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Either that, or I mean, there's a guy named Mike Devereaux that played there a lot when I was a kid, but I'm going Brady all day. Anyway, and in center, but Nick Markakis is my left field. Yeah,
that makes. I mean, I understand Nick Markakis. Sadly, didn't make my list, but it was a hard miss.
All right, Orioles fans. I mean, well, we're looking for another co-host starting next week. No,
he doesn't make my list because, I mean, I think you took the positions more fluidly as I kind of did it. It's like where they spend most of their time.
Yeah.
Well, Brady's the only one. He kind of spent like half and half between left and center. But I mean, who I have at center, I can't change. But what I do have to say about left field is I have two players right here.
Okay.
BJ Surhoff, who I know you like him, and Austin Hayes.
Oh, okay.
So okay. I compared these two players, and actually, through their first 3 seasons of starting, BJ Surhoff was only slightly better than Austin Hayes. He played in 40 more games, and he had barely any bigger stats. He had a lot more RBIs, 10 more home runs, The hits were the biggest difference, but I think it's mainly Hayes didn't play quite as much, which it just surprised me when I think of like someone like BJ Surhoff. I think of someone much more impressive than Austin Hayes.
Yeah.
But I think it just goes to show though that like we kind of take for granted some of these players. I think Austin Hayes needs to get more attention, and that's
So as somebody that one of my favorite players was BJ Surhoff, but I will give you that observation. That's very good. One thing I will say is Austin Hayes is a much better outfield defender than BJ Surhoff was. And I am, like I said, this is coming from a guy that has a BJ Surhoff jersey, right? He was my guy, you know. But I will say Austin Hayes can't play catcher. You know, BJ Surhoff got just if people don't know, BJ Surhoff got drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers to be a catcher, first round. And but anyway, you know, I used to see him everywhere. Like, he'd be in the outfield. He'd be, but that's really cool to hear the stats about between him and Austin Hayes. That's cool. So who do you have in center?
I mean, who do you think I have? I think Adam Jones.
I think you have Adam Jones.
I have to go Adam Jones. Yeah. Obviously, Adam Jones.
Yeah.
That for me, it wasn't a discussion. Like looking into it, yeah, maybe other people deserved it. Like I have a couple other people that I don't want to steal your pick, but so I won't mention them yet. But I don't think for me, Adam Jones will be probably my favorite player of all time. He's that right now, and no one is as funny and has as great a personality and as great as a guy, and can be just as locked down defensively and hit 30+ home runs this season like Adam Jones to me.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, mine was Brady Anderson though. So,
okay. You already said that. Yeah.
No, so you're good. So, yeah, I think this is where the sentimental value comes in, because when I think of my Orioles teams, right? Brady was my center fielder. When you think of yours, it's Adam Jones is your center fielder. Yeah. Right?
Like if you tell me in my head to picture just a generic Oriole, Adam Jones is who I think of.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, and mine's Cal, because I saw him play. You know, you see him play every day.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of I can't knock you for that at all. I next to my center fielder, I have Adam Jones as my second guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that if we put a poll out, I think Adam beats Brady, and what people think that I would lose this battle. But yeah, that's really good. That's really good. Did you have anybody else in center? No, not really. He was your guy.
Yeah, the one thing I saw two, but the main one I will say is Al Bumbry.
Yeah, Al Bumbry,
who's obviously neither of us saw play.
Yeah.
But I mean, I met him once at an Orioles fan fest. He seems pretty cool, and I mean, he had a really good career.
Yeah,
I will give that surprisingly good career.
Yeah, I mean, that's a guy that you know, like I said, some of our people that have been watching baseball a little bit longer, you know, than us, has seen Al Brumley, and then Mike Devereaux would be the other guy. And those would be your two. Mike Devereaux's the '90s, you know, and just kind of seeing that. Actually, a cool little stat is Mike Devereaux was the starting center fielder in the first game ever played at Camden Yards. So, yep, hit you with that one. Right? All right. Yeah, you know, FYI for everybody else, Cody does know stats, right? I keep having everybody telling me how luckily we have Elijah on here to get like stats. So I got to step my game up apparently. And
apparently, the thing you will never have me on is random trivia.
Absolutely, I know.
I'll pull random trivia out of every single player.
Yeah, I know. I think your biggest thing on stuff like that is if you just say it a certain way, people just believe it. Like Elijah just says stuff, you know, and you know people just feel like, okay.
I just retain random information from. I'll just be listening. Jim Palmer will say something, and be like, "Oh, interesting," and then I'll stick in my head for the next 15 years.
Right. That's good. Moving on to right field, I have Frank Robinson.
That's who I have too.
And I don't think I think that's everybody.
Yeah.
I think Robinson is, if he has a bronze statue, if they have a bronze statue out, on the
You kind of have to pick him.
over beyond center field, I think that's who you're picking. Obviously, neither of us saw Frank play, but I think what's cool about Frank Robinson is if you get to look at his swing in real life, like get to look at his swing in a video, his real life swing, it can play right now. Like you ever watch like older guys play baseball, especially 70s and 80s. Well, not 80s so much, but especially 70s. As you look at some of those swings, you're like, they couldn't catch up to a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. No. I don't think Frank would have a problem. I mean, you look at that swing, his hands are so fast, pretty incredible. Do you have anybody else over in right for you or no? No?
No, I mean, like a name I have down is Ken Singleton, but it's still like, right, like when you see like a name like Frank Robinson, it's not really a debate.
Yeah, so I have a guy that nobody will agree with me on because he was my favorite, he was my second favorite baseball player as a kid, okay? Mm-hmm. I'm going to give a little background real quick. Growing up in the 90s, okay, nothing was better than watching watching a lot of guys hit the ball really far. And it's probably because they had a little bit of help, steroid wise. But as a kid, I didn't care about that. The dignity of the game you can, but as a kid, I didn't care. And my favorite player gets traded to my favorite team. And that was Sammy Sosa.
Yeah,
he did.
I was
so
waiting to figure
bad.
out where you're going with this.
Well, the problem is we got him at a rough time because he wasn't allowed to use steroids anymore. If we could have got him when he was allowed to use them, everything would have been great. But man, I remember as a kid, I think I was like maybe 10, 12, and we got tickets and sat in right field. My parents like got me tickets to sit there so I could see my favorite player, and he didn't even play that game. Like, how on Sundays you go to a Sunday game and sometimes that's probably what happened. I was so bummed, man. But number 21 in orange and black, man, that was fun to see. But in all seriousness, he doesn't even touch the cloak of Frank Robinson. But yeah, so that's pretty much. We do have a utility. Do you have a?
I think there are plenty of options you could go with here. I'm going to go sentimental here. I'm going Trey Mancini. He can play outfield and first base.
Yeah, okay. All right. My utility is BJ Surhoff. He was my utility the whole time. BJ can play left. He can play right. He can play third. He can play second. He can play first. He can play catcher. I putting big number 17, BJ Surhoff out on the field. Okay. All right. So who's your DH?
Nelson Cruz.
Oh, that's good.
Look, he was with us for 1 year, but it was a really, really good 1 year.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine getting somebody for $8 million now that did what he did?
Yeah. 40 plus home runs.
Yeah, absolutely. And that he was the opposite of my Sammy Sosa guy. My Sammy Sosa. Because, so Nelson Cruz, the reason why we got him so cheap that year was he just got off steroid suspension. Or, okay, I don't know if it was steroids. I know it was performance enhancing suspension. So nobody wanted him because they were afraid of the backlash, and the O's were like, well, we have nothing to lose here. So we took him, and he led the MLB in home runs that year.
Yeah.
What a stud,
great gamble.
It was. Yeah, it was. And then my man got paid by, I think it was the Seattle Mariners, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
And all right, so my DH is Eddie Murray. So that's why I sat him. I let him just go sit on the bench when you get up, hit home runs, and go sit back down and get up and hit home runs again. So that's my DH. I don't think there's much argument in either one of those.
No.
If we're just looking at 1 year wonders, you got Nelson. I mean, we got Mark Trumbo. Mark Trumbo, what a year he had.
And then 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, and then I mean, nobody's gonna like this name, right? Because it still hurts our heart because we're still paying him. Is Chris Davis. If people remember, what we had like 4 or 5 years where we led MLB in home runs it consecutively, and Chris, Trumbo, Cruz, we're just doing what they were doing, and then sadly, of course, Chris kind of started to struggle there and couldn't get out of it, But yeah, so let's look at our lineups that I keep trying to jump the gun on tonight. I'm going to go through my 1 to 9, and then you can tell me how awful you hate it or if it sounds okay. All All right. So leading off Cody's Ultimate Orioles team is leading off, starting second base is Brian Roberts. My number 2 batter is a guy that is my favorite player of all time, and is somebody that I wanted to make sure that I got to the stadium early to see, and that is Cal Ripken Jr. Batting 3 is my DH, Eddie Murray. Okay. My first baseman is Rafael Palmeiro. My center field is Brady Anderson. Right field, batting 6 is Frank Robinson. My number 7 is Nick Markakis. Left field. Number 8 is Brooks Robinson, my third baseman. And number 9 is Rick Dempsey, my catcher. Does that sound okay to you?
Yeah, it doesn't sound bad. We start off pretty similar.
Okay. All right. What you got?
I have Brian Roberts leading off, playing second base.
Okay.
Then batting second, Cal Ripken, for all the reasons you said. Great. Then batting third, I have Eddie Murray.
Nice.
And then everything changes. So I have batting fourth, nice cleanup, Frank Robinson.
Okay. Yeah,
and then I
argue
got
that.
Nelson Cruz batting fifth for just the power. Then I go Brooks Robinson after that. Then 7th, Adam Jones playing center field. 8th, Adley Rutschman playing catcher. And then this one I have a reason for is I put Brady Anderson at the 9. I like the speed at the 9 hole, kind of being like that second leadoff hitter.
Right.
I really like him getting on base for the top lineup.
I respect that. Yeah, I have no issues with that at all. Pretty awesome lineup. That it definitely definitely would be cool to if you could play if a video game would have all them guys in it.
Yeah.
I mean, just kind of see that.
MLB The Show, get on that.
Yeah. I get on them about that because I guess it's just so many different players because all the NBA games I can pretty much go to each year, but it's only I guess they only have 7 to 10 people they have to put in there. Whereas
I guess that's true.
I get so I get
mean,
it.
even if you just did starting lineups for not even just do all the teams, just do every team that won a World Series.
Right.
Go play as the '83 Orioles. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. But anyway, so that was fun. I mean, I'm a little surprised in some of our differences, which I'm pretty excited about. But definitely, if you like our lineups or you think we missed anybody, definitely let us know, especially on social media when we put this podcast out. And if you would, make sure you give us a 5-star review if you like our podcast. If you think you're going to give us a 1-star review, we ask that maybe you just go listen to another Orioles podcast and maybe give them a 1-star review. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But definitely want to thank everybody for joining us on this episode of the Utah Street Banter. And we definitely hope we see you next time. And we're out. See you guys.
See ya.